man. Here we go.
Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to our very own Midweek Something or Another. We still don't have a name for it.
By everyone, do you mean all 30-something?
Okay. There was no need, and there was no need, and there was no need. So
Yeah.
on that note,
Okay.
we have a special guest with us who just likes to throw everything in the dirt. Our very own Amber Williams.
We're
Give it
gonna
up for
have-
Amber.
Yeah.
Can we get- Woo!
I requested the applause button.
Here we go. The applause button. That's right.
There
That's
you
right.
go. So Amber.
We're going to have a lot more viewers because I'm on.
It probably.
All right,
promoted it.
Amber. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I thought you already did. I'm Amber. I've been married to Matt for 20-some years.
Wow.
I know. Together, we do this crazy thing called life.
Hey.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Is there any other special... Here's the question of the day. Your favorite cereal. Go.
It's
There's a right
so
answer here.
boring, and grape nuts. And why am I so old?
Stop.
I know. I know.
Ooh.
But I don't eat it with milk. I put it in yogurt.
Oh, gosh.
A serial killer right there.
Yeah, I think we
Jeez.
made a mistake of having a guest. I think we made a mistake.
Too late now.
Too late now. That's right.
Yeah. Speaking of guests, Matt, were there any jokes this week that did not make the cut?
Let me look and see. What did I have on here? Did I tell the antennas one?
No.
No.
What's the antennas one?
Oh, okay. Dad joke. 2 antennas met on a roof, fell in love, and got married.
Uh-huh.
The ceremony wasn't much, but the reception was excellent. Yeah.
That was pretty
now
good.
Hit the applause button.
Oh.
That was worthy of the.
Yes. Okay,
All
that
right,
was...
yeah.
I feel
Or-
like out of all of them,
Yeah. Okay.
yes,
that too.
that was
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah.
Were there any other jokes that made it this week?
No, I think I got everything else that was in there. Pickup lines that I do. Hey girl, for you I'd slay 2 Goliaths.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I did that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking for a man with good credit. Jesus
Yes.
paid my debt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I like
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Now I know why Solomon had 700 wives.
Yeah.
Because he never met you.
Yeah, that's a good one there. That one might might work. I don't know.
I swooned a little.
just a slight swoon.
Just slight swoonish. Yes. Yes.
So I picked up on one of the songs that you
Okay.
had this week.
Secret song. Yeah.
You had the "What Is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me" towards the end.
I did.
Yeah. And was there another one?
There
Yes.
was.
Super Bowl preview.
Super Bowl.
song.
So Super Bowl. Oh my gosh,
Oh.
the halftime show was my jam. That
Dude.
was Dr. Dre, Eminem.
Dude.
Right, like so. Oh man,
No,
like
no.
it
It was
right.
so good.
was so good. And so like every millennial out there was like,
Oh
yeah!
my gosh!
So and so it was like really anyhow. Yeah. So but so when I was telling the story about how I met Amber, I was quoted a Snoop Dogg song because I said we were all hanging out at the house and I was sipping juice, laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Ah, that
And now,
was a s-
I said
didn't-
sipping
didn't
juice,
catch
but
that.
the real one is sipping
No,
gin and
no.
juice, right?
We can't say that, can we?
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
He said
I-
drop a deuce last week.
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. I can't filter anything that comes.
No.
out of his
Here,
mouth.
I filtered on Sundays, but there's no filter.
There's no
This is
filter.
raw,
Yeah.
unfiltered.
This is raw, unfiltered.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it was sipping on gin and juice, laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
We were not sipping on gin, for record.
No, we weren't. Yeah.
We were at Jeff and Sarah's house. It was very wholesome.
Naturally. With wings and barbecues.
That's right.
Soda.
It was hot wings, barbecue sauce.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. It was good. It was good. But
Is there a better Super Bowl food than buffalo wings?
Fried pickles.
No.
Yes.
yeah.
Grape nuts and fried pickles. Good Lord.
We don't agree on culinary treats, I
No,
see. It's
we
fine.
don't.
We have a different
Fried-
palate.
She does have good taste in men, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Now say that.
Definitely not in the hair part, though.
Oh.
I have a button. There you go. Which one is yours?
Hey, whoa!
How'd that go? Yeah. There we go.
That was a little aggressive. That was a little aggressive.
We can't gang up on him.
No, we cannot.
Yeah.
So this week is week 2 of your relationship series. I
Yeah.
love what you're doing with it. You're really comfortable with the topic. You have a lot of great insight, a lot of wisdom. And what I love most is just how practical it is. You just like, hey, you could do this. You could try this. Try this. Like, there's no reading in between the lines. It's literally, hey, do you want a successful relationship? Maybe you should try something else if it's not going well. Like, and I love that it's so practical and that it's so down to earth. But this week, was there anything that did not make the director's cut, or was there a conversation in the car between you two of, oh, I love this part, or oh, you missed this, or what about this?
I left a little bit out, but I'm also putting it to next week's message. So
Okay.
I don't want to spoiler alert it. Maybe what we could do is ask Amber if there was anything in there that you thought was maybe I said something that you were like, that isn't true, or he's teaching that, but he doesn't do it.
No, actually. No, I think everything that you said on Sunday, we have worked hard at putting into practice.
Nice.
You talk the talk and you walk the walk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I would straight call you out if.
I know you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you would.
He's really good about doing his dishes every Sunday.
Most Sundays.
Yeah. And the bonus is he'll pick up an extra day, like on a Thursday, and do the dishes, and then it's like just,
extra credit.
Yeah, extra credit.
Bonus points.
Yeah. Bonus points are nice. Those are good. That is good. Yeah, I did kind of close the message off with like, hey, if you want what you've never had, you have to do what you've never done.
Right.
Yeah, and then if you want what you once had, you got to do what you once did.
Right. I think we were in Birmingham, and I think John Maxwell, he was talking about if you want to do what someone does, you have to did what they did.
Yes.
Because if you don't did what they did, what you do will be doo-doo. And so
that was so good. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I love the way he said that. But I was curious, not this past Sunday, but the one before, you were talking about the way that Lego Batman helped put each other back in the priority in your marriage.
Yeah.
Amber, do you want to discuss a little bit about kind of that experience of Lego Batman?
It was kind of funny because when he was talking about that, I was already backstage getting ready to come back on stage with the band.
Okay.
And so he had said, video games is what brought our marriage like to a point where we were able to reconnect. And I was like, oh, yeah, it was Lego Batman. And I said that to somebody who was back there with us. And then you said it out loud. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. But, I mean, it was just, I don't know, Lego Batman, as simple as it was something we had to work together at to be successful at.
Right.
It was something that we both enjoyed and had fun doing. We looked forward to it. We would stay up till 2 a.m. sometimes and then be like, oh, my gosh, what have we done? The kids are going to be up in, just a few hours.
Wow.
But it was so easy to work into our natural routine, and yet we had such a connection opportunity with that.
Yeah. I love how you started that with, it was our opportunity to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was that kind of that opportunity. I think one of the weirdest things is in a relationship when you don't recognize when there's a disconnect and you just try to keep going and build off of a disconnect. But once it's disconnected, it's only going to get worse and worse. Was there a moment like when you distinctly noticed that there was a disconnect and you together were like, we have to do something like this? Or was it kind of a mutual, hey, something's going on?
I think it was kind of a mutual.
Yeah.
We kind of felt the drift.
Okay.
And I felt it. I think you felt it. And we had an honest conversation of like, hey, kids are kind of, we may not have used the same language, but we basically said the kids are taking a higher priority than our marriage. And life is so busy that we're focusing on everything else to keep life running. And we've essentially neglected each other. And so we thought, let's go do something together. Well, what are you going to do? Like, we're used to, you can't like put your kids to bed and go out bowling, or, I mean, you can get a babysitter, but
Expensive.
it is expensive, you
Right.
know? And,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, how can you reconnect? And so I don't know how that came about, but like we bought a Nintendo Wii and started playing video games. Did we already own the Wii?
We did own the Wii.
Okay.
And I think something maybe we're missing in this whole thing is like how we approached even just that one conversation about we're having issues.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil alert anything that you have coming up.
No,
but,
please, let's go right ahead.
We have always tried very hard to approach our conversations as we're not fighting to win.
Right.
I'm not fighting him to try and win the argument, because in that scenario, there's a loser.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want my husband to be the loser.
That's so good.
You know, for us, it's more about what is the situation and how do we put it out in front of us so that we're both fighting to win. And it's not that he's the problem. There is a problem.
Right.
But he's not the problem.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, his behavior or my behavior might be contributing to the problem,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, we both want to win in the marriage.
Yeah, the win is when the marriage succeeds and the relationship is built up.
So
Yeah.
I could have easily turned to him and said, you don't pay any attention to me. You're not doing this. You don't love me as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But we had the, I don't know, wisdom in the moment
Yeah.
to be able to say, hey, there's a problem here. And neither one of us want this problem. What can we do to fix it?
Yep. Which I think requires humility for both sides.
Yeah.
It's if one side has pride or both sides have pride, and then it makes it really hard to have those kinds of honest conversations.
Yeah.
It's because then one person's feelings are hurt, or if they feel like I have to be better, I don't want to admit failure. You know, I gotta get comfortable with the idea that failure isn't bad. Failure is part of the process of growth.
Right.
And if you aren't comfortable with failure, you're gonna have a hard time growing in life. And so if you want your marriage to grow and get better, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
And get comfortable with the idea that you're not going to be always right all the time, and just don't approach it that way. Like we to take an illustration, let's see if I can get this camera right. Yeah. So we took, if the blue cup is the problem,
Mm-hmm.
if we put it between us and we're shooting at the problem, what ends up happening is we're actually shooting at each other and the collateral damage of hurting each other. And so we, mentality wise, we think about it as we're shooting the problem, but we end up shooting the other person in the process.
Yeah.
Whereas if we turn and we put the cup out here,
Now you're shooting at me.
now I'm shooting at you. Yeah. Which is
fine for our marriage.
yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
okay.
It actually helps our marriage. And so I just, but what happens is now we're on the same side,
Right.
shooting the same direction.
Yeah.
And any accusations, anything that I'm saying or doing verbally is now pointed at the problem, not the person. And so if I misstep in the way that I'm approaching it, as long as I'm positioning it the right way,
Yeah.
then it's not accusational. So,
Right.
you know, because it's really easy to put it here and be like, well, you never this, or you always this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, number one, that isn't true.
Right.
You know, she can say you never take the trash out. And it's like, no, I took the trash out one
Once.
time 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a liar, and I don't like that you lying. You know, like all of a sudden it's like, wow, you just escalated that crazy, right?
Right.
But if you move it over here and it's like, hey, listen, I keep the trash is, you know, overflowing a lot. I feel like I'm taking it out more than you are. You know, can we maybe come to an agreement that,
Can you help me solve this problem?
yeah, exactly, help solve this problem? Well,
Right.
now we're talking about the same thing and you're gonna get the same result, but now you're a team working on solving a problem, not accusing each other on the problem.
Same team.
Yeah.
Team Williams.
Yep. What?
And I think it's so great because when you're able to effectively communicate your needs, like, hey, when I say I need you to take the trash out and you don't listen, it makes me feel like you're not hearing me or something like that. And that opportunity of like sharing what you need and your vulnerability is actually an opportunity for you to grow closer together instead of split you apart.
Yeah.
And like you were saying last week, you know, nagging doesn't help anyone, because if I'm doing what you want me to do because of coercion, that doesn't bring me closer. That builds resentment, that builds bitterness, that builds all these things. And I think I was reading this book, Danny Silk's Keeping Your Love On.
Mm-hmm.
Really great book, but he starts it with so many times in society we're excited because somebody has chosen us. Like, oh, she's so great. She could have chosen anyone, but she chose me. When really our responsibility is to choose something. And so with our spouse, it's constantly choosing the other person instead of they chose me. And because you're choosing your spouse, you're actually taking responsibility and you're taking an active role in pursuing that relationship and pursuing that connection. And so the question that was posed in the book was, are you just being chosen, or are you choosing things?
Mm.
Is life happening to you, or are you happening to life? And are you responsible for your choices, or are you just a victim of your choices? And I think that's so important in marriages, because it can be like, because of what you're doing, you're making me miserable. Well, it's like, that sounds pretty powerless, because one, I'm not taking responsibility for what I'm feeling. Two, the problem is between us. So we're attacking each other. And 3, this is just going to build resentment, build anxiety, build anger in the relationship, so that doesn't fix anything. And so I love how you said putting the problem in both of your paths, because you both have a creative solution to the problem.
Yeah.
Your solution is going to be different than his solution, and that's completely normal. It's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think part of the beauty of marriage is you get to create a new normal. So it's not just what you grew up with normal or what you grew up with normal. You actually get to build a new normal together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. Just because it's an opportunity to kind of break. I know growing up, you always say, I'm not going to do it like my parents, right?
Right.
Something happens, you're like, I'm never going to do this to my kids, or I'm never going to do it, right? And then you have kids, you're like, oh, I kind of understand what they meant now.
Yeah. Right. This does hurt me more than it hurts you.
Yeah. But just actively taking like new steps towards problems that you're going to face and challenges that you can overcome. And so I love what you were talking about with the application of love languages.
Yeah.
The exchange rate, I thought, was a genius analogy. Could you just refresh and kind of talk us through that exchange rate and the different currencies? And
Well, yeah. So the easiest way is that you look at love languages in somebody's life, and we have different love languages, and so I want certain things, and Amber wants something different. Amber, what do you like to receive?
I mean, what's my number one love language?
Yeah.
It's physical touch,
Mhm.
right? So like I want him to hold my hand. I want him to rub my shoulders. To me, that means more than if he brings me flowers.
okay.
Yeah.
Gifts are not my love language.
Like-
Physical touch is my love language.
But words of affirmation are probably my number one for love language.
Got it.
So if my number one is like words of affirmation, and all I do is affirm my wife all the time, because that's what I like to receive. And so that's a default tendency, is that whatever feeds you, you think is what everybody wants to receive,
Yeah.
because you haven't learned what the other person wants. So you start there. So if all I'm doing is saying words of encouragement, yeah, that's nice, sure. But I can be dropping words all day long. But if I don't like hold her hand or like just touch her shoulder or give her a hug or anything like that, it's like, man, I feel like I am really laying it on thick. And she's just like, yeah, kind of, that's nice, I guess. Yeah. And so it's the same way.
I believe on Sunday you said, meh.
Is that your response, Amber?
Yeah, like if I'm buying her stuff, Amber likes nice things, but if I'm buying her stuff, she's like, wow, that's really nice. That's really nice. And it's like, man, I could be buying her diamond bracelets and diamond necklaces and earrings and nice clothes, and I could be buying her a new car, and she appreciates all those things, I think.
Yes,
Appreciates
I
those
appreciate
things.
those
But
things.
it's like I could do all that and outlay a lot of money on a lot of stuff, but then she could easily be like, meh,
I just wanted a hug.
right? Right. And I'm like, man, that's way cheaper, Like, what am I doing here? And so it's a realization of the exchange rate. So the easiest way to think about it is like dollars to pesos, because we're in New Mexico and Mexico's right next door. So 1,000 pesos does not equal $1,000.
Right.
Right. And so 1,000 pesos, I don't even know what the exchange rate is today, but I don't think it equals like $100 or even $10. So I can feel like I'm putting thousands and thousands of pesos into the bank, but on her side of the bank, it's like $2.
Right.
And she's like, meh.
That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, well, wait, hold on a minute. I'm putting the wrong currency into the bank.
Yeah.
And so in order for me to if I put the right currency into the bank, it's worth it. It pays off better.
Well, because then you get frustrated, right? You're like, I'm working really hard. I'm doing all these amazing things for you, and you don't even appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the reality is you're not speaking the right language to each other. So,
Wow.
I feel like I'm making all this effort and you don't even care. And then your perspective is, I'm not even doing anything that you really appreciate.
Right.
So I'm not making all this effort. And now I'm angry at you for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It totally can scale into that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so a lot of times couples will start to run into those bumps because of that. We figured that out pretty early on in the marriage.
It's one of those books, which I highly recommend as
Yeah.
a new couple. you know, it sounds very cliche and silly, but it really helped us build the foundation of our marriage.
Uh-huh.
And so we just picked a couple books, and there's some really good ones out there. And, you know, all you have to do is Google search marriage books, best-selling marriage books, and pick what looks good to you. But take the time to invest in your marriage in the beginning, and it has a better chance of being able to withstand the test of time.
Yep, absolutely. You got to feed it right, give it the right stuff so it can grow.
Especially in the beginning when everything's still sunshine and rainbows and you love each other.
It's magical.
It's not homework. It's fun.
It's magical.
Just the magic and sunshine and rainbows.
That's how I feel about you every time I see you.
Heyo. Yep. This podcast is over. We got to go.
And wrap.
And I love how you mentioned working through the marriage books together. I know you were talking about there were some chapters that you didn't necessarily agree on, or there was homework that you guys did together. How did that kind of fit together? What topics were you like, I don't know about that? And what topics really stood out as like, this is really good and I need to take hold of this and I need to build something off of this?
Yeah, I'll go first on one. We did this one book we got, and it was like this journaling thing where it asked this really deep question, and then it like wanted you to write a page about it.
Wow.
You know, and I remember like reading the question and being like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to write. Like apparently I'm emotionally shallow because I have no idea, like, you know, what this is. And I remember like struggling to write anything down in this little journal book. And then we'd get together and I was like, yeah, I don't like, do you remember that one book? I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah.
And we scrapped it. You know, you have to be able to say like, okay, this isn't working for both of us. And we stopped doing it.
Yeah. Was there any of the ones that you could think of?
There was one book that and I can't remember the name of the book, but it talked about how you have to vocalize your expectations.
Yeah, that's so good.
Because if you don't tell somebody what you expect from them, they will always let you down. There will always be failure.
Yeah.
But if you're able to say, you know, this is what I need, this is, you know, what I expect, then they have the opportunity to be successful and meet it. And as a wife, you know, you don't really, or a married person, husband, wife, it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that the first thing you need to talk about in your marriage is how are you going to break up your chores until you're, you know, 3 years in your marriage and you're feeling like you're the only one that ever cleans the house. You're the only one that even knows where the vacuum cleaner is.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't talk about it before you're angry about it, it's a little bit harder to have that conversation. Yeah,
for sure. And like, we're not mind readers. Like, I can't read your mind. You can't read mine.
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling a
Probably
certain
good.
way.
That's probably good.
For the best.
That's for the better. Yeah.
For the best.
Yeah. There are moments. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like, I can't read your mind. So if you're frustrated or if something's bothering you, I don't know it. Right. And so, and maybe you get a little bit grumpy, but I don't know why you're a little bit grumpy. And so I don't know if it's something I did or somebody else did.
It's always something you did, but I'm just kidding.
Yikes. All right. Yeah. But there's like always, you know, you just never know. And so without vocalizing it and saying, and then being able to ask, and like even now our relationship in such a place now that if one of us is a little bit grumpy, the other person's like, why are you grumpy?
Right.
And then you're able to say, this is why I'm grumpy. This happened at work, or somebody else said this, or you did this, you know, because sometimes it is one another that did something, or it could just be like, I don't know, I'm just sad. Like, I'm not sure what it is. And so, you know, got to have that, be able to, can't read each other's minds.
Don't have to set those expectations and be able to vocalize them.
Yeah.
In a healthy way, in a non-critical, but a constructive way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely choosing respectful communication.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, talking about choosing, we tell, you know, whenever we do any kind of premarital counseling, the first thing we tell them is you every day will have to wake up and choose to be married to this person.
Yeah.
And some days will be a lot easier and some days will be really hard, but you are making the choice to stand before God and say, I want to marry this person. I want to be with them. That's not a one-day choice.
Right.
That's every day for the rest of your life. You make that choice. And when you stop making that choice is when there's problems.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
That's so good.
I can tell you that almost every day it's an easy choice for me.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you guys have put in the work and overcome those difficulties, and so it doesn't just happen overnight, but it's constantly investing in it, and it's constantly watering that. One of the situations I was in this week, and I love overviewing like my generation's view of relationships because it's pretty awful. And if you watch TV shows or if you watch like any media, you look at these relationships and like the fights they have on TV, it's like, how are you guys still together? Like it's just so aggressive, and it's like, whoa, you're throwing some really big darts like at each other. And one of the things I was sitting down and having, I don't know, eating with friends and hanging out, and we were talking about a friend's relationship. And they said, oh, her primary love language is physical touch and his isn't. That relationship isn't going to work, right? And I was like, how?
Yeah.
Excuse me? I don't think just because you have different primary love languages that means the relationship is just doomed. I think it's so sad to limit ourselves in the way of just because your primary love language isn't mine, then that means this relationship doesn't work. I think it's so selfish on my part, and so like I can learn new ways of loving, and I think that helps me grow as a person and view someone else's perspective. But I think the way society works is like, as soon as you differ from me a little bit, then what's different from me isn't an asset, it's actually a liability. And because it's a liability, we're now enemies on this topic instead of working together.
That's kind of a selfish way to even look at it. If our love languages are different, then it's not going to work.
Yeah,
because
scary.
Well, yeah, because if you're choosing to be with somebody, then you're right. You're choosing to love that other person, and it's that's not even about me.
Yeah,
like I don't love Amber because of me.
Right.
I love Amber because of her, and so I think a healthy marriage and healthy relationship requires self-sacrifice, and it will show up in the form of, I got to give you the love language that you need.
Yeah.
So that because I internally feel love towards you. So I got to be able to communicate that. So I'm going to do something that I don't necessarily want for me, but it's 100% selfless, and it's just towards you. And so if it's like, well, I'm only going to give you the thing if it's what I want, I mean, that is a very self-centered, selfish relationship. And that's a really, I don't know, stinking way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Let me phrase this. So I'm sure there was a situation where maybe it got a little heated or things were frustrating between you.
John wants the dirt.
I do not want the dirt. I want strategies. So what were some strategies that you guys used when things started to escalate?
Make her sleep on the couch.
Oh, okay.
For the record, I have never once in our 20 years of marriage slept on the couch.
This is true. Yeah. Unless you were like sick and you were like trying, but not like in a fight.
That's okay, fine. Make me a liar.
See, I'm right. I got to be right.
One thing that we put into place pretty much right away was the ability to say, I need a minute to think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
I tend to think very quickly, and I would sometimes be, 3 steps down the argument from where Matt was. And his non-response was being received by me as he's not even listening. He's not participating, but he was still processing what I had said 2 or 3 points back.
Wow.
And so he had to be able to tell me, listen, it's not like I'm not participating in this conversation. I just need a little bit longer to process what you're saying to me. You're moving too fast in the argument.
Yeah.
Slow down a minute, And so I had to be okay with the fact that we didn't fight the same, and it was okay. When we were in an argument, if he argued slower, I had to know, like, okay, it's not that he doesn't care. It's that he's processing.
I care so much. I want to say the right thing.
But again, it's all back to the common goal of we're both trying to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Like I could fight and win the argument, but at what cost?
Right. The problem probably doesn't get solved. It builds. Yeah. And I love how you said the goal is to fix the problem. I think if you ask some couples, the goal of a marriage is sometimes misplaced into, oh, I just want to have a peaceful relationship, or I just want to have the kids leave the house, or like, and sometimes I feel that there's always a choice between connection and love and disconnect and indifference. And, you know, there's a million other choices within that. But there's always, in any given situation, you can always choose connection with another person, or you can always choose disconnection. And so is the goal of a marriage, does it come down to a goal of connection with your spouse, or is your goal creating enough distance between each other so you don't hurt each other? And it can get to a space where my goal is no longer to connect with you. It's to put a wall there so you don't hurt me anymore. Whether that be, you know, emotionally or anything like that. But that disconnect builds up, and if you don't deal with it, that becomes a wall where slowly we put, maybe it's the kids, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a career choice, but all of a sudden this disconnect happened and these walls build up. And of course you're going to feel the disconnect, right? You're tied together. You're one flesh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so once that disconnect pops up, things get escalated, things get heated, say some mean things. All of a sudden, my goal is no longer to connect with you, but it's actually to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that kind of orphan mindset picks up, I mean, that's disconnect. And that becomes very, like, emotionally cold towards each other. And that's a scary place to be. I love how you mentioned the humility that it takes, because I think it's really hard to solve someone's problem if they don't see it.
Yeah, it's true.
If they don't see the problem, then how are they going to solve it? Were there some tactics or some phrases that you used when your spouse had a blind spot and you were trying to point it out without being critical or harsh on them?
I think it's important to not be accusing.
Right.
And to really, I think for us, it's for me, it was being super intentional about vocalizing the challenge, not as a problem, not as it's their fault or their problem, but it's my personal challenge.
Okay.
Or, you know, to be able to say, okay, I'm having a hard time. And because it puts it on me, and it's humility, and it's like, I'm having a hard time. I feel like, whatever it might be, you know? And so then it's like, okay, this is my issue. This is my deal. I'm having this and I need your help.
Yeah.
And then when you kind of phrase it that way, it's like, I need your help to help me solve my problem. That it positions it where, as a spouse, I think you can be like, okay, I want to help this person. And now I clearly see that I'm contributing to this problem without even realizing I was doing it.
Wow.
And then it's not accusing, you're now problem solving.
Yeah. I was the I statements, right? You make I statements. I feel this way. I see this. Not you are doing this. You are doing that.
Right.
You're a problem because, you know, and we've had moments where we have had to point those things out to each other. You know, when we had kids, we both grew up in very different environments when it came to parenting. And we had to figure out what our parenting combined style was going to be. And there were moments where we had to sort of correct each other, you know, and just sort of offer feedback of like, you know, hey, you could have maybe handled this situation a little differently. And here's kind of what I saw. How do you think that went? Or how could you have changed that? You know, and so we're working on the common goal of making our parenting as best as it possibly can be, because that's what we both want. Right. Without accusing the other one of being a bad parent.
Yeah.
I grew up in a house where it was a little bit stricter rules. And I remember growing up, and I love my parents, but I grew growing up and looking back and going, I don't know if I would be that strict. And for whatever reason. And then I would say Amber grew up in a house with not very many rules.
No rules.
No
really
rules.
No rules.
Yeah.
We had no curfew. It was, you know, we just went home when our friends all had curfews. And so we just went home because there was nothing left to do because they all had to be home.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, maybe we'll be in the middle of that somewhere. And so there are moments where like we've had to kind of like navigate that, where maybe my position is I want to be too strict, or maybe I want to be too loose on a certain thing. And then Amber, same thing. She'll have like be too strict or too loose on something. And so we're always kind of like having to balance it out. And there's been times where even this week where it was like,
it's
no,
getting real.
it's getting real. Even this week where one of us had we took a position with the kids, and then like as soon as the kid walked away, we're like,
it's me.
Amber took a position with the kids, and as soon as the kid walked away, she was like, how was that?
I did.
Was that
I
too
literally
much?
said, did I handle that well?
Yeah.
Did I?
Was I too too heavy handed? How was that? And so like we're like, I don't know, maybe this, I don't know, maybe that. And so like we're like hush hush. The kids in the other room like contemplating their life choices, and we're like 20 feet away going like, I don't know. It's like that was a good play. Okay, let's run play 2AB now, and then
instant replay.
Yeah, instant replay. We're like,
Facial
well, maybe
expressions.
Yeah.
I think I saw a tear.
Analyzing tone, analyzing intent.
Yeah, it was a little bit of that. Like we're like, yeah, right in the next room. And then we're like, okay, maybe we should do this. And like 5 minutes later, the same kid came walking back into the room. And then Amber was like, she like took a different strategy with the same thing. And it was so funny because like as soon as like the kid walked away, I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, it was
celebrated the moment. The point was made. The kid received the information.
Yeah,
but she didn't feel, torn down or, she got the point
without
absolutely. It being terrible.
Right, because we don't want to break him in half, but we also need to bring correction, and that's such a weird balance as a parent.
Right.
And so it was like the first interaction, it was like, how'd that go? I don't know, maybe. What if we did it this way and approached it that way? Okay, yeah. And then like it's just so like we have this team now where we have a little huddle, and it's like
nice.
It's the parents versus the kids a little bit. Yeah, but
that's a whole nother sermon series.
I know, right
there.
Yeah, I know. We just drifted off into a whole other series.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
I like how you started with being committed to feedback.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say they're committed to feedback, but as soon as the feedback doesn't agree with their perceptions, things go south very quickly.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, the people in your family that you live with know you better than anyone, and they see things in you that nobody else sees.
Yeah.
And if you're not open to them telling you ways that you could be better or improve,
right?
What's the point? You just become stagnant where you are, and you're never going to be a better human being.
Right.
Yep.
That's so good. All right. So to wrap it all up, to put it all together, to put the icing on this cake, Amber, tell the audience, tell everyone watching, how do they be better at relationships? How do they be better at loving their spouse?
Well, I mean, I think it starts with morning coffee in bed.
So when's that going to start?
Diamond earrings.
Diamonds on
done.
the neck.
Check.
Diamonds on the ring.
Yeah, got that.
It's a little bit of a repeat of what we've already said, but I think that you have to every day choose to be with this person, to love them well, and to be open to whatever communication needs to happen that day. It's not always easy, and you don't always feel like it, but your life is not dictated by your feelings.
Yeah, that's
I
so
don't
good.
always feel like I want to be married. I mean, I do. I really do. But I don't always feel in love, but I know that I'm always in love, and I always choose to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I think that summarizes it right there.
No, you have to answer too.
Do I?
Yeah.
So to summarize the whole thing, I would say it's an active choice. It's a daily choice.
Yeah.
But really, more than anything, I think it is committing to put the other person first in the marriage and recognizing what do they need and invest in them and how do I make them the best version of them. And if I'm constantly making them the best version of them, making Amber the best version of Amber and doing everything I can to do that, I'm building her up. And if she's built up, she's going to be the best version of herself, which is, I don't know, that I think it, as a husband especially, I think it's a man's job to help build up the spouse, build up his wife to being the best version of herself. Because when she's confident and she is loved and she is the best version of her, then your whole life is better. So,
yeah, that is so good. All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us, Miss Amber Williams, Pastor Amber Williams. Thank you for joining us this week. I look forward to this weekend. Is this the finale of the relationship series?
This is the finale. This is the third week, and we're going to wrap it up here. And then, 3 weeks this time.
You won't want to miss it. Check it out. Live stream, come in service. And we can't wait to see you next week.
That's right.